Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles.
The moment Adrian pushed open the bedroom door, time seemed to freeze. Celeste's naked silhouette, the stranger's heavy breathing, the wine glass on the sheets, and the air thick with perfume and the scent of sex. All of it pierced his chest like a sharp blade. Most ironic of all, their wedding photo on the wall faced the bed directly, witnessing everything. Celeste spun around abruptly, her expression shifting from pleasure to terror. "Adrian, didn't you say you'd be working late tonight?" Today was his and Celeste's 5th wedding anniversary. It was also his birthday. Adrian stood in the doorway, his face completely expressionless. He simply glanced at the man on the bed, hastily covering himself with the sheet. Marcus Caldwell, the developer who had been trying to acquire their property. "Damn! Who the hell are you?" Marcus shouted with false bravado, but his eyes flickered with guilt. Adrian didn't answer. He simply closed the door slowly, his footsteps disappearing steadily down the hallway. Celeste wrapped herself in the sheet and rushed out of the bedroom, her bare feet touching the cold floor. "Adrian, wait, I can explain." But the living room was silent. Adrian had already left. 10 minutes later, Adrian sat in his car, phone pressed to his ear. "Please remeasure the foundation load-bearing data," he told his colleague on the other end, his voice eerily calm. "Especially the termite protection system parameters. Send it to me immediately." He hung up and gazed at the perfect house he had personally designed and supervised the construction of. As the city's most sought-after structural engineer, Adrian knew every beam, every connection, every piece of timber in this house. Just as he thought he knew Celeste. His phone vibrated. Celeste was calling. Adrian pressed accept and put the phone on speaker. "Adrian, please, come back so we can talk." Celeste's voice trembled. "What just happened? It's not what you think." "Oh," Adrian said softly. "What is it then?" I just lost my head for a moment. Marcus wants our house," Adrian interrupted calmly. "And what do you want, Celeste?" Silence on the other end for several seconds. "Adrian, our 5 years together. Answer my question." Another stretch of silence. "Do you really want to know?" Celeste's voice suddenly turned cold. "I want a better life, Adrian. You're an excellent engineer, but where's your ambition? Are you content to work for others your whole life? Earning $30,000 a month? Living in a suburban house? And what Marcus can give me?" "I understand," Adrian said quietly. "Then I wish you get what you desire." Adrian hung up and looked calmly at the house before him. How much of his heart and soul had he poured into this house? Every detail, every design element was his vision for the future. Now, those visions had been tainted by betrayal and lies. He dialed another number. "Reed, it's me. Can I borrow your apartment for a few days? I need to replan some things." "Of course, brother, anytime." His old friend Reed's voice was full of concern. "What happened?" "I'll explain later," Adrian replied briefly, then hung up. For the next 48 hours, Adrian barely slept. In Reed's apartment, he was surrounded by blueprints and computer models. As a top structural engineer, his understanding of buildings far exceeded that of ordinary people. Now, this professional knowledge would be used for an entirely new project. "The White Ant Plan," he murmured to the computer screen. "A perfect case study in structural failure." Reed entered the room, seeing the papers scattered everywhere and Adrian's bloodshot eyes, and asked worriedly, "Brother, are you okay?" Adrian looked up, a cold smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Better than I've ever been. Listen, I don't know what happened, but locking yourself away like this isn't the solution." "No, this is exactly the solution," Adrian said, pointing to the 3D model on the screen. "See this? This is the most perfect house I've ever designed. Every detail precisely calculated. But you know what? Even the most perfect structure has weaknesses, if you know where to strike." Reed frowned. "Adrian, you're scaring me. You're not planning to." "What I'm planning," Adrian interrupted, his eyes sharp as knives. is to give my dear wife and her lover a surprise. Meanwhile, Celeste had called Adrian over 20 times and sent countless messages, all falling on deaf ears. Marcus kept reassuring her that Adrian was just shocked and would calm down soon. Then they could negotiate the divorce and property division on favorable terms. "Don't worry, baby," Marcus said, arm around Celeste's shoulder, casually drinking whiskey in Adrian and Celeste's living room. "I've seen this situation before. Men always make a fuss at first, but they eventually accept reality. Especially honest guys like Adrian." "You don't understand Adrian." Celeste bit her lip. "He's not the type to give up easily." "Oh, come on," Marcus laughed dismissively. "He can't even keep his own wife. What else can he do? Don't forget our plan. Once he calms down, we'll offer to buy this house at a reasonable price. He'll accept because he has no choice." Celeste looked uneasily out the window. "I have a bad feeling about this." Adrian left too calmly. "Not at all like someone who's been cuckolded." Marcus rolled his eyes. "You're overestimating him. That kind of rigid engineer. What can he do besides calculating blueprints?" What they didn't know was that at that very moment, Adrian had hacked into the home's smart home system. As the designer, he had left a secret backdoor in the system that allowed remote control of the house's various functions. "System access successful," Adrian whispered to the computer screen. "Now, let's see what my masterpiece can do." First, he adjusted the house's humidity control system. Normally, this system maintained indoor humidity at a comfortable 40 to 60%. But Adrian adjusted specific areas to over 75%, the ideal environment for termites. Next, he remotely loosened several key structural support points. These support points seemed insignificant but were actually crucial connection points in the house's structure. Under normal circumstances, these connections held tight, ensuring the house's stability. But now they had been subtly loosened, creating perfect conditions for termite invasion. "Execute white ant plan." Adrian typed the final command into the program interface. Countdown. 7 days. 7 days would be enough for termites to multiply rapidly in the environment he had modified and begin eroding the deliberately weakened structural points. Adrian knew that Marcus, as a developer, would certainly conduct a comprehensive inspection before acquiring the property. But these inspections would only discover surface problems, not the time bomb hidden deep within the walls. On the third day, Adrian finally returned home. Celeste looked at her husband standing in the doorway with surprise, not knowing what to say. "Adrian, you're finally back." She tried to hug him, but Adrian skillfully avoided her. "I came to get some things," he said calmly, walking straight to the study. Celeste followed him, explaining continuously, "Adrian, I know what you saw, but that was just a momentary mistake. Marcus and I were just sleeping together," Adrian said without turning around. "Don't worry, I understand." Celeste was stunned. "You understand?" Adrian turned around, a smile on his face. "Of course. We've been married for 5 years. You want more and I can't give it to you. Marcus can give you a better life, can't he?" Celeste couldn't believe her ears. "You mean, you're not angry?" "Angry? Why should I be angry?" Adrian shrugged. "Everyone has the right to choose. You chose Marcus, and I respect your choice." Celeste breathed a sigh of relief but then became suspicious again. "So, what do we do next?" "Divorce, of course," Adrian said calmly. "As for this house, I assume you and Marcus already have a plan?" Celeste's expression changed. "You know, I guessed," Adrian smiled. "Marcus has always wanted to acquire properties in this area. Your chance meeting was carefully arranged from the beginning, wasn't it?" Celeste's silence was answer enough. "Don't worry," Adrian continued. "I won't make things difficult for you. In fact, I'm planning to move out. The house goes to you." "Really?" Celeste couldn't believe it. "Of course," Adrian nodded. "This house no longer means anything to me. I'll move out tomorrow." Celeste felt dizzy. She had expected a difficult argument and complex property division, but Adrian's reaction was unexpectedly calm and generous. Adrian, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, Adrian smiled. I just hope you and Marcus can enjoy this house well, at least while it's still intact. What do you mean? Nothing, Adrian said, turning to continue packing. Oh, tell Marcus he owes me one. After all, this house would have cost him a high price to buy originally. Now, he only needs to pay the divorce costs. Celeste stood there at a loss. Adrian's attitude was too abnormal, completely unlike a betrayed husband. But she quickly pushed this unease aside, intoxicated by the victory before her. That evening, Celeste couldn't wait to call Marcus. Guess what? Adrian agreed to the divorce and said the house goes to me. What? Marcus's voice was full of doubt. Just like that. Yes, he said he understands my choice and won't make things difficult for us. He's moving out tomorrow. Marcus was silent for a moment. This isn't right. No one would give up $1 million house so easily. Maybe he just accepted reality? Celeste said hopefully. Adrian has always been a rational person. Or, Marcus's voice suddenly became wary. He's planning something. Tell him I want to talk to him before he moves out tomorrow. The next day, Adrian stood at the door with his suitcase, ready to leave. Marcus's luxury car pulled up just then. Mr. Peterson. Marcus got out of the car, extending his hand with false sincerity. I think we should have a good talk. Adrian glanced at his outstretched hand but didn't shake it. What's there to talk about, Mr. Caldwell? You won. The house and the woman are both yours. Marcus awkwardly withdrew his hand, his smile somewhat stiff. Listen, I know this situation is complicated, but I hope we can handle it like adults. My company has always been interested in this house. I'm willing to offer a fair price. Not necessary, Adrian interrupted. The house goes to Celeste. She can decide who to sell it to. Marcus frowned. Mr. Peterson, I don't think you understand this house's value. Oh, I understand very well, Adrian smiled. In fact, no one understands this house's value better than I do. After all, I personally designed and built it. Marcus's expression became wary. What does that mean? Literally, Adrian shrugged. As a structural engineer, I know my work inside and out, including its strengths and weaknesses. Marcus's face changed. Are you threatening me? Threatening? Adrian feigned surprise. I'm just stating facts. Every house has its own characteristics. Some obvious, some hidden deeper. As a professional developer, I'm sure you'll conduct a thorough inspection before acquisition, right? Marcus's eyes narrowed. What exactly are you trying to say, Peterson? Nothing special, Adrian smiled, picking up his suitcase. Just reminding you that sometimes the greatest danger isn't what we see, but what we don't see. Good luck, Mr. Caldwell. With that, Adrian walked to his car without looking back, leaving Marcus standing there with suspicion and unease in his eyes. When Adrian's car disappeared around the corner, Marcus immediately pulled out his phone and called his company's chief appraiser. Blake, I need you to immediately organize a team for a comprehensive inspection of the Peterson house. Not a routine inspection. I want the most thorough kind, including structure, electrical, plumbing, foundation, every possible problem. I suspect there's something wrong with this house. But boss, a thorough inspection takes at least a week. 3 days, Marcus said firmly. I'm giving you 3 days. Meanwhile, Adrian had checked into an ordinary hotel. He opened his laptop and checked the monitoring data from the home smart system. The humidity control system was running according to his settings, with specific areas reaching the ideal humidity level for termite reproduction. The deliberately weakened structural support points were also beginning to show slight stress changes, early signs of structural erosion. Adrian nodded with satisfaction, then opened his email. There was a message from an international construction company inviting him to participate in an important project in Singapore. This was the reply he had been waiting for since submitting his resume 3 months ago. Perfect timing, Adrian muttered to himself. Time to start a new life. He replied to the email, expressing his willingness to accept the invitation and inquiring about specific start dates and conditions. Then he called his old friend Reed. "Hey Reed, I need a favor." "Of course, brother. What is it?" "I'm going to Singapore for work for a while. After I leave, could you help me keep an eye on my old house? Especially its structural condition." Reed was silent for a moment. "What exactly did you do, Adrian?" "Just gave it the attention it deserves," Adrian chuckled. "Don't worry, no one will get hurt. I just want to make sure certain people get what they deserve." "Adrian, don't worry, everything is under control. I just need you as a witness." 3 days later, Marcus's appraisal team arrived as scheduled. They brought various high-tech equipment and began a comprehensive inspection of the house. Celeste stood nervously to the side, watching these professionals bustle around every corner of the house. "Is there a problem?" she asked uneasily. Chief Appraiser Blake shook his head. "So far, everything looks normal. Structure is stable, electrical and plumbing have no issues. The design and construction quality of this house is indeed first-rate." Marcus breathed a sigh of relief. "See? I told you Adrian was just bluffing. That kind of honest guy. What can he do besides talk?" Just then, a young appraiser rushed down from the attic with panic on his face. "Blake, you need to see this. I found some abnormal readings while checking humidity." Blake frowned and followed the young man upstairs. Soon, his voice came from above, clearly tense. "Marcus, you'd better come see this." Marcus and Celeste exchanged glances, then went upstairs together. In a corner of the attic, Blake was using a special device to measure the inside of the walls. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. "Abnormally high humidity," Blake said seriously, "and our thermal sensors show significant biological activity inside the walls." "What does that mean?" "In the worst case," Blake hesitated, "it could be termites." Marcus's face changed. "Termites? How is that possible? This house was only built 3 years ago." "We need to drill a small hole to confirm," Blake said, taking out a small drill. When the drill bit penetrated the wall, everyone held their breath. As a small piece of wall was removed, a nauseating smell of decay hit them, followed by dozens of termites crawling out of the small hole. "Oh my God!" Celeste screamed and stepped back. Blake's expression became very serious. "This isn't ordinary termite infestation. From the scale of the colony, they've been breeding here for some time. We need to check more areas." Over the next few hours, the appraisal team drilled holes in multiple locations throughout the house. The results were shocking. Termites had invaded multiple key structural points of the house, especially those areas Adrian had deliberately adjusted. Worse still, due to the humidity control system's malfunction, the entire interior had become a breeding ground for termites. "This is very strange," Blake told Marcus. "Termites usually take a long time to cause this kind of severe damage. But the situation here looks like someone created the perfect environment for them." Marcus's expression grew increasingly grim. He remembered Adrian's parting words. "Sometimes the greatest danger isn't what we see, but what we don't see." "That bastard!" Marcus roared. "He sabotaged it." Celeste couldn't believe her ears. "Impossible. Adrian wouldn't do such a thing." "Open your eyes and look," Marcus shouted. "Your perfect engineer husband designed all of this." Termites appearing exactly at the house's key structural points, the humidity control system conveniently failing. "This can't be coincidence." Blake cleared his throat, interrupting their argument. "Regardless, we now need to assess the extent of the damage. From the current situation, it's quite serious." "How serious?" Marcus forced himself to calm down. "Conservative estimate, repair costs would be at least 60% of the house's value." "But actually," Blake paused, "considering the termites have invaded the core structure, this house may no longer be safe. Any repairs would only be temporary. In the long run, demolition and rebuilding might be the only option." Marcus felt dizzy. He had originally planned to acquire this house at a low price, then resell it at a high price for substantial profit. Now, the house was not only worthless but could become a huge liability. This can't be. Celeste slumped to the floor, mumbling. Adrian said this was the strongest house he'd ever designed. Then she suddenly remembered Adrian's words when he left. I just hope you and Marcus can enjoy this house well, at least while it's still intact. And that meaningful question, Marcus has always wanted to acquire properties in this area, and your chance meeting was carefully arranged from the beginning, wasn't it? All the pieces suddenly fit together. He knew. Celeste's voice was barely a whisper. He knew everything, and he got his revenge. Marcus kicked the wall hard, stirring up dust and termites. That seemingly harmless engineer was actually executing a carefully designed revenge plan. Celeste tried to contact Adrian, but his phone had become a dead number. She logged into their bank account and found that half the money in their joint account had been transferred, exactly Adrian's share. Not a penny more, not a penny less. She looked at Marcus desperately. What do we do now? Marcus's expression turned cold. We? There is no we anymore. This house is now worthless, and the acquisition contract has been signed. You're responsible for my company's losses. What? But you said. What did I say? Marcus sneered. That I loved you? Please, Celeste, don't be so naive. I was only interested in this house, and now it's ruined. Just then, the doorbell rang. Celeste numbly went to answer it, seeing a well-dressed man at the door. Ms. Celeste Peterson? Yes. This is a court summons. Mr. Peterson has filed for divorce and provided evidence of your marital infidelity. According to your prenuptial agreement, this will affect the property division outcome. Additionally, he has submitted a statement renouncing all rights to this house. Celeste took the documents with trembling hands. She turned to look at Marcus, hoping for some support, but Marcus was already on the phone with his lawyer, completely ignoring her existence. Greg, it's me. I need you to immediately prepare a lawsuit. Target: Celeste Peterson. Charge: fraud. She concealed serious structural problems with the house, causing my company massive losses. Celeste felt another wave of dizziness. In just a few days, her entire world had completely collapsed. She had lost her husband, lost her lover, and lost her home. All of this because she had underestimated the husband she thought was weak. On the other side of the city, Adrian sat in a coffee shop, slowly sipping his Americano. His phone received an electronic report from the appraisal company. As the house's original designer, he was still on their mailing list. The report detailed the house's catastrophic structural problems and recommended immediate demolition and rebuilding. Adrian smiled slightly and opened another email. It was the formal employment notice for the Singapore project. Departure in 2 weeks. He clicked accept, then turned off his phone. 5 days later, Adrian sat on a plane to Singapore, opening his notebook to begin designing the blueprint for his new life. Meanwhile, his phone was full of missed calls and messages from Celeste. The last one read, "Please, Adrian, I need your help. Marcus is suing me for fraud, making me pay for appraisal and acquisition losses. This house is now a dangerous building. I can't live in it or sell it." Adrian calmly turned off his phone and put it in his jacket pocket. The flight attendant approached with a smile, asking what drink he'd like. "Whiskey neat," he replied, then looked out at the clouds. "I'm celebrating the successful completion of a project." The flight attendant poured him a whiskey and asked curiously, "What project is worth such celebration?" Adrian raised his glass toward the sunset outside the window and smiled slightly. "A study about termites." Singapore's sunlight was bright and comfortable. Adrian stood on the top floor of a skyscraper, overlooking the city skyline, breathing deeply the free air away from his past. 6 months had passed, and he had fully integrated into the city's rhythm and gradually established himself at the new company. "Mr. Peterson, the board is very satisfied with your design proposal." Project Director Chan approached him, handing him a coffee. "Especially your attention to structural integrity. Truly impressive." Adrian smiled and accepted the coffee. "Details determine success or failure. I just understand structural weaknesses better than most people. Indeed, Chin nodded. By the way, an American woman has been calling the company reception looking for you, claiming to be your wife, saying there's an urgent family situation. Adrian sipped his coffee, his expression unchanged. Ex-wife, the divorce is finalized. Please tell reception not to take her calls anymore. Chun nodded understandingly without asking more questions. In Asia, people knew when to keep quiet. Back at his apartment, Adrian opened his computer and checked emails from home. There was one from his old friend Reed with the subject, "You definitely want to see this." The email contained only a few photos and a message. "Buddy, your perfect house has become the ghost house of our neighborhood. Marcus's company fell into financial crisis from acquiring a dangerous building, and they're suing Celeste for fraud. By the way, your white ant plan was genius level. I never thought a humidity control system could be used like that." The photos showed his former home in a pitiful state. The walls were covered with cracks, and termite damage was clearly visible. The most spectacular was the last photo, a large warning sign in front of the door. "Danger! Structural instability. Do not enter." Adrian's lips curved upward as he closed the email. He had no regrets about the house's fate. That house was never truly a home, just the physical carrier of his relationship with Celeste, a relationship long since corroded by betrayal. His phone suddenly lit up, showing unknown number. Usually Adrian would reject such calls, but today he was in a good mood and decided to answer. "Hello, Adrian. Thank God you finally answered." Celeste's voice came through the speaker, sounding exhausted. "I need your help. Everything's gone wrong." "What a coincidence," Adrian interrupted calmly. "I was just thinking about you. Just saw photos of our old house. Looks like the termite problem is quite serious?" Silence on the other end for several seconds. "It was you?" Celeste's voice turned cold. "You did it on purpose." "What?" Adrian played dumb. "I'm just a structural engineer, not a pest expert." "Stop pretending," Celeste screamed. "Those termites couldn't just happen to appear at every key point of the house. You sabotaged it. Do you have evidence?" Another stretch of silence. "Marcus is suing me," Celeste said with tears in her voice. "He says I knowingly hid the house's problems. Now he wants me to pay for all his company's losses. Adrian, I need you to testify in court. Tell the judge those termites occurred naturally." Adrian laughed, a laugh devoid of any warmth. "Let me get this straight. You and Marcus were having an affair behind my back, planning to steal my house. Now that things went wrong, you want me to commit perjury for you in court? It wasn't like that. You know what, Celeste?" Adrian's tone suddenly became casual, as if discussing the weather. "Building structures and marriages are actually very similar. They look solid on the surface. But if the core is corroded, even the most beautiful exterior will collapse." "Adrian, please." "I'm busy, Celeste. Handle it yourself." Adrian hung up and blocked the number. Then he opened a bottle of good wine and stood on the balcony, looking at Singapore's night view. He raised his glass and whispered to the night sky, "Cheers to the downfall of the cheating couple." Back in America, Celeste's life had fallen into complete chaos. Marcus's company was suing her for fraud, demanding massive compensation. The house had been officially declared a dangerous building, uninhabitable. Worse still, due to the prenuptial agreement clauses and evidence of her adultery, the divorce judgment was extremely unfavorable to her. "Our situation isn't good, Ms. Peterson," her lawyer said bluntly. "Marcus Caldwell's company lawyers have provided substantial evidence proving you had a personal relationship with Mr. Caldwell before the house transaction. This makes it easy for the jury to believe you conspired to hide the house's defects." "But I had no idea the house had problems," Celeste defended desperately. "The problem is," the lawyer said seriously, "your husband was the designer and builder of this house. The jury will think you should have known. Unless what? Unless we can prove Mr. Peterson deliberately sabotaged the house structure. But we need evidence." Celeste bit her lip. I don't have direct evidence. Just some strange things Adrian said before he left. And the humidity control system malfunction and termite invasion points were too coincidental. The lawyer shook his head. That's not enough. We need concrete evidence. Like records of him hacking the system, or recordings of him admitting to sabotage. I tried contacting him, Celeste said disappointedly, but he won't take my calls or reply to emails. Then, the lawyer packed up his files. I suggest you consider settling. Caldwell's lawyers proposed that if you admit to fraud and agree to compensation, they might reduce the amount. How much compensation? Preliminary estimate, $700,000. Celeste felt dizzy. I don't have that much money. I know, the lawyer sighed. But if the case goes to trial and you lose, the compensation could be higher. Plus lawyer fees and litigation costs. You might need to declare bankruptcy. Celeste slumped in her chair, unable to believe her situation. Just a few months ago, she had been a successful woman with a decent job, perfect husband, and beautiful home. Now, she was about to lose everything, and the architect of it all was living a new life on the other side of the world. Meanwhile, Marcus's situation wasn't much better. His company had fallen into financial crisis from acquiring the dangerous building. Worse, this incident had attracted regulatory attention, and they began investigating Marcus's company's other property transactions. Boss, the situation is bad, Marcus's assistant nervously reported. Investigators found irregular operations in several of our previous transactions. What irregular operations? Marcus roared. Well, those cases where we arranged insiders to approach property owners, get inside information, then use that information to drive down acquisition prices. Marcus's face turned pale. This was exactly the business strategy he had always used. Identify valuable properties, arrange charming agents to approach owners, obtain house information, then use this information to find defects or create problems, forcing owners to sell at low prices. Celeste was just one of his many insiders. Damn Adrian Peterson. Marcus slammed his desk hard. He didn't just destroy that house. He brought the investigation. He did it on purpose. 6 months later, Adrian received another email from Reed. This time it was a news link with the headline developer Marcus Caldwell sentenced to 5 years for fraud and improper business practices. The news reported that investigations found Marcus's company had been using deceptive methods for years to acquire properties at low prices, then manipulating various operations to inflate prices for resale profit. Their usual trick was planting insiders to approach property owners, obtain house information, then create various problems to force low-price sales. The exposure of all this stemmed from a special case, the house destroyed by termites. Too damn ironic, Reed wrote in the email. Marcus tried to use his old trick to steal your house, but triggered a full investigation by law enforcement. I heard Celeste admitted during trial testimony that her relationship with Marcus was carefully arranged from the beginning. The purpose was to obtain your house information. The judge was very harsh with her. She was ordered to pay massive compensation and got 240 hours of community service for perjury during litigation. Now she's moved back with her parents, deep in debt. The email included a photo, Celeste working at a fast food restaurant. She wore a greasy uniform, her hair disheveled, with obvious dark circles under her eyes, wiping down counters. Oh, by the way, Reed's email continued, that house has been completely demolished. Now it's just an empty lot with a for sale sign, but no one dares buy it. People say the place is cursed. The termites will return. Adrian looked at the photo and simply filed the email calmly. This wasn't schadenfreude, but a cold confirmation karma had finally arrived. A year later, Adrian was well established in Singapore. His designs had won international awards, and his career had reached new heights. At an industry reception, he met Emma, a female designer equally passionate about architecture. They talked all night about architectural concepts and design philosophy. No lies, no hidden motives, just pure professional passion and growing affection. I've always wanted to ask, Emma said as the evening ended. What made you decide to leave America for Singapore? Adrian looked into her eyes and decided to tell her part of the truth. I designed a house I thought was perfect, but later discovered it had serious structural problems. Oh? What problems? Emma asked curiously. The core was corroded, Adrian said calmly. Why not repair it? Adrian shook his head and smiled slightly. Some damage can't be repaired. Rather than guard the ruins, it's better to start over. Emma nodded thoughtfully. Smart choice. My father always said the most important skill for an engineer isn't building. It's knowing when to demolish and rebuild. Your father is a wise man. He's a termite control specialist, Emma laughed. He taught me how to identify the smallest signs of damage. Adrian froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. The laughter was so relaxed, so genuine, as if years of burden had finally been lifted. What's wrong? Emma asked puzzledly. Nothing. Adrian shook his head, his eyes gleaming mischievously. I just think we seem quite destined. Oh? How so? Emma leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Because I've recently developed an interest in termites too. Adrian raised his glass to her. Their destructive power is quite impressive. Then we should definitely talk more. Emma clinked glasses with him. I can tell you many termite secrets. I can't wait, Adrian smiled. Their relationship developed quickly. Emma was not only a talented designer but also a straightforward, sincere woman. A stark contrast to the Celeste Adrian once knew. With Emma, Adrian found he could let down his past defenses and learn to trust again. I looked into your white ant plan, Emma suddenly said one evening over dinner. It's truly a genius design. Adrian nearly choked on his wine. You looked into what? Emma smiled mischievously. Don't worry, I wasn't investigating you. Just professional habit. My dad is a termite specialist, remember? I'm interested in any termite-related cases. Your former house is legendary in termite control circles. Legendary case? That's right, Emma nodded. Termites usually take years to cause that level of structural damage. But your house only took a few months. This caused widespread discussion in professional circles. Most experts think it was a combination of humidity control system failure and design flaws at key structural points. Adrian maintained a calm expression. Did anyone suspect human sabotage? Of course, Emma laughed. But there's no evidence. And who would do such a thing? Unless, she paused, looking directly at Adrian. Unless the house's designer himself wanted it to fail. Adrian met her gaze, neither denying nor confirming. Some failures are more valuable than success, especially when failure gives certain people what they deserve, Emma added, then raised her glass. To clever engineers and their ingenious design flaws. Adrian laughed and clinked glasses with her. Don't you think this is crazy? Crazy, Emma considered. I don't think so. I think it's justice. If someone tries to exploit your professional knowledge for ill-gotten gains, then using the same professional knowledge to make them pay the price, that's poetic. Adrian felt an unprecedented understanding and acceptance. Emma not only didn't judge him but appreciated his work from a professional perspective. On the way home, Adrian received an email from his lawyer confirming all legal disputes with Celeste were concluded. The last page attachment was a photo, their former house completely demolished, leaving only an empty lot. Meanwhile, in America, Celeste stood in the greasy kitchen of a fast food restaurant, covered in food scraps, exhaustedly looking at the clock on the wall. Her phone rang, Jason calling from prison. We need to talk. Marcus's voice was cold and hard. My lawyer says your testimony got me 5 years. I won't let this slide. Celeste leaned against the wall, feeling dizzy. Since the house incident exploded, her life had been sliding toward the abyss. Credit bankruptcy, deep in debt, even renting a decent apartment had become a luxury. And the architect of all this, Adrian, was living his new life on the other side of the world. She hated him, yet couldn't help but admire him. He hadn't become hysterical, hadn't made threats, but used a calm, precise, devastating method to make both her and Marcus pay the price. Celeste, break time's over. Come deal with this garbage. The manager's shouting pulled her back to reality. She sighed, hung up the phone, and walked toward the trash bin. Just as Adrian had said, some damage can't be repaired. 6 months later, Adrian and Emma stood before a new building in Singapore, Adrian's latest design work, a residential building using innovative pest prevention technology and humidity control systems. It's beautiful, Adrian. Emma held his hand admiringly. Thank you, but it's not my best work yet. Adrian smiled. Oh, what's your best work? Adrian pulled a small box from his pocket and knelt on one knee. I hope it's the life we're about to build together. Emma looked at the diamond ring in the box with surprise, tears sparkling in her eyes. Are you sure? After what you've been through? I've never been more certain, Adrian said firmly. Some people teach us how not to love, while others, like you, teach us how to start over. Emma took the ring and leaned down to kiss him. I'm willing, Mr. Engineer, but I have one condition. What condition? Our new home must have the most advanced termite protection system. Emma winked mischievously. After all, we both know how much damage termites can cause. Adrian laughed loudly and pulled her into his arms. Naturally, but I promise, as long as you're here, no termites can harm our home. As they walked through Singapore's streets planning their future, Adrian's phone received a text from Reed. Old buddy, guess what? Celeste got caught stealing money at the fast food place and is facing charges. Marcus got beaten up badly in prison, apparently for messing with the wrong people. Karma's a bitch. Adrian glanced at the text, then turned off his phone, returning his attention to Emma. The past was past and his future was right before him. What are you thinking about? Emma asked curiously. Just thinking, Adrian smiled. Sometimes the most perfect structures aren't those that never fall, but those that can be gracefully rebuilt. Emma nodded understandingly and squeezed his hand. And the best engineers know when to demolish and when to rebuild. In Singapore's night scene, Adrian Peterson finally found true freedom and happiness. On the other side of the world, Celeste was in a police station interrogation room, facing yet another charge. Her life continued its spiral descent. This was the price of betrayal and the beginning of rebirth.
That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.